My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Show. Good morning, good day, good evening, whenever you're watching, whenever you listen. I hope you're doing okay today. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant, located on St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, and give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's for an authentic Italian meal. And to get a T-shirt. As you can see, I'm donning the Sal's T-shirt today. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Holiday Inn and all their properties. You want to get a Billy C discount next time you stay at a Holiday Inn? Well, just visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and click on the banner, which is right there on the right-hand side. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by, you guessed it, my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. And you can get a copy of this book right now where you're watching or listening to this show. Just visit BarnesandNoble.com or Amazon.com. Find out why I'm so adamant about getting Tom Molyneux's story told. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, we will be doing our Blast from the Past. James Scott, an intriguing cat that we'll be talking about tomorrow. Also, Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard will stop by and sit with us and join with us. And I don't know. I'm going to ask him. I tell you what, I can't wait to ask him about the refereeing jobs that took place this past weekend. Also, today I wanted to talk about the latest on Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. I mean, it's getting, what is it with boxing where you have one main storyline and then we just keep beating it to death, because we're waiting for updates, and every little thing that's said or heard or rumored or whatever gets taken and run. And I'm to blame too, because I do the same thing. I'm not criticizing it because I do the same thing. It would be hypocritical. But it is what it is. We have some news on that. I want to start the show. I also have some emails as usual. One thing. We have some comments that Gervonta Davis has made concerning Floyd Mayweather and his job as Floyd Mayweather, the promoter, but not so much Mayweather Promotions. It's interesting. We've heard that there's a lot of conflict going on between Gervonta Davis and Floyd Mayweather. How about a challenge from Gervonta Davis to fight Floyd Mayweather? We'll be talking about that. But first, I want to kick off the show with kind of a sad note. Wilfredo Gomez, the former three-time world champion, he's also a Hall of Fame member. We all know the story. He's having some serious health issues, living in Puerto Rico. His sister was basically taking care of him. He's unable to fend for himself. And then now she's sick, so it was reported that he was rushed to the hospital a couple of days ago, and it was reported yesterday that he's now stable. Apparently, some complications rose from him coming down with pneumonia. But the latest report for the former world champion in boxing, Hall of Famer Wilfredo Gomez, Bazooka Gomez, that is, 44 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw, I guess is okay. I'm confusing him. Sal is correcting me with correctly written notes. Benitez. my report says Wilfredo Gomez, who, I was confusing the sister story with Benitez. So I apologize for that. That's why we have you here, Sal, to keep me on the right track. But Wilfredo Gomez was the one that was hospitalized. But you're on, Sal. You're live.
Oh wow! Hey, good morning.
Hey, you're acting like a mime. I was like, you know what? The last mime I ran into.
I'm holding up flashcards.
Yeah, I know. The last mime that I ran into just had too much to say. You know what I mean? I mean, it was.
That's funny,
yeah.
Billy C. That's really funny.
But
on a sad note, I didn't hear much about the great Wilfredo Gomez either. But I know Benitez has had a lot of health issues and has been in the decline for almost 15, 20 years. I don't know. But as his position or situation is getting worse and worse, and his sister, I think he was living in his sister's house or the house he grew up in and having to be taken care of. So is also Wilfredo Gomez having trouble too?
Well, from the reports, it said Wilfredo Gomez, Bazooka Gomez. I mean, it wasn't.
Bazooka Gomez.
Yeah, and he was rushed to the hospital. They're around the same age, but I was wrong when I started talking about the sister, because that is Benitez. You're correct on that. But in any event, let's get started with some updates on Anthony Joshua. Now, of course, our UK correspondent Johnston hooked me up with some quotes and stuff, and then to validate it, even not that I question him, and I certainly didn't. I also saw it on several other news outlets. So we got some comments concerning, Anthony Joshua. First and foremost, there's been all kinds of talk, Sal, as well as I, back and forth and stuff.
Back and forth.
It all started, it started really with the fans' desire to have this fight, between AJ and Deontay. And then, it became bigger than just the matchup between two undefeated heavyweights, arguably the top two in the division. It started to become more boxing. It's about the sport. It's this and that. Then the offer came, the crazy offer of $50 million to pay Anthony Joshua to fight Deontay Wilder. I say crazy, not that I'm not suggesting that this fight doesn't have the capabilities of making, buku dollars, et cetera, but just the way in which it was presented, et cetera, et cetera. Well, since then, I think it was successful because the talks became more serious and they're ongoing. Now, last week we were talking about where the fight should be, and apparently rumor had it that it was going to take place in Las Vegas because of the $50 million offer. Then yesterday came around, and some quotes from Anthony Joshua suggest that that's not happening. Eddie Hearn on Saturday said it will 100% be held in the UK. Then Anthony Joshua had an interview that took place, and when asked about that, he said, and this is Anthony Joshua quotes, he said, "So with all this Las Vegas talk, I just want to say I owe it to everyone in Great Britain that has been supporting me to do my best to get this fight to happen in the UK. That's my opinion. That's my number one priority. Wilder has kind of said, all right, cool, come to fight me in America. But the thing is, with that, I owe it to the fans and everyone supporting me to do it in the UK. The second reason is if I go there, there's always a lot of tricks that play into the terms of referees and judges, and that's why I want to be home where I'm secure." One thing I want to add before I move on, Sal, he's not lying. We watch it domestically.
I just never heard it called. It's like Donald Trump calling out the phony press. I mean, the tricks is quite a spin on it. I like that. Kind of like that. It's a little shuffling of the cards, if you will.
Well, the truth of the matter is that it's true. The other thing I just wanted to point out is that generally in the UK, when you have a big fight like this, in any place in Europe, and even Canada for that point. You know, they have neutral judges, at least one. You know, in Vegas, you never see that. I mean, you know, New York is very strict. They pick their own officials, you know, and Vegas is along those same lines. And a lot of times you have a fight that's happening, and, you know, you would think that you would have, especially a fight of this magnitude, you would think that you would have, you know, judges that are neutral. Maybe one judge from America, one judge from the UK.
I've always said that,
and
Bill.
one judge from you know, wherever. You know, I mean, it makes sense. You know.
Yes, it does.
So he's not just making an excuse here. I kind of agree with him. He says, luckily we got enough time to make the fight happen, and we're still working on it, said Anthony Joshua. I'm continuing with his quotes. He says, we've just sent another offer to them. It's just technical jargon that we're all going through right now, which gives me reason to believe that. Yeah, which gives me reason to believe.
I like the technical jargon term.
Well, it gives me reason to believe that it's beyond the nuts and bolts. Now they're just, you know, getting into the verbiage, etc.
And beyond probably the split and the money. I mean, that's a big thing, the technical jargon.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, I think that, you know, the nuts and bolts of the contract, meaning the money split, etc. He says I got nothing to lose. This is an interesting comment from Anthony Joshua. He says, I ain't got nothing to lose, and I'm gonna rain hell down on him, meaning Deontay Wilder.
I know what it means. He says, that's pretty good.
No, I'm just pointing out that these are quotes from Anthony Joshua. He says, I'm going to F him up really bad. You've seen it. I can go to hell and back. I enjoy it as well. This time, I'm going to own it. He says, we're both big hitters, so for sure, I'm going to be throwing a lot of combination punches, and it'll be interesting. I think he'll be trying to pick his punches. I'll just be coming forward and swinging a lot of combinations, just trying to catch him and hurt him early on. You know, that's an interesting statement, too. A lot of stuff that he's saying is kind of true based on his previous performances and, you know, his questionable running out of gas during a fight. Something that Deontay
telegraphing punch right now,
and well, he's giving out his game plan, and something that Deontay Wilder has been very successful in doing is maintaining his gas tank. You know, he says Wilder actually saw some of these quotes and said, "You see people talk all the good talk, but they're not prepared to walk through the valley and shadow of death to come and get it." He said he once went to hell and back and he enjoyed it. He says, either the devil wasn't there or he's lying. Whatever.
I love the quote from the Charge of the Light Brigade.
What's that? Oh, to hell and back.
That was into the valley of death. I mean, I love that's somewhat from the Charge of the Light Brigade.
Yeah, but wasn't it from the movie To Hell and Back?
Probably. I mean, he's not the only one that has to quote the Charge of the Light Brigade.
But anyway, you know, so the talk is starting.
Wow, that's good though, Bill. That's a good sign. Well, I like this talk. You know.
No, I agree with you. I mean, you know, your boy Deontay Wilder is always full of talk. But here's the curveball.
Let me hear it.
Vadim Komalov, who's part of Alexander Povetkin's team, issued a statement yesterday, and it said, and I quote, this is from Team Povetkin, "We are still ongoing with our negotiations for Alexander Povetkin to fight Anthony Joshua in September." He says the site and country is all yet to be finalized. Wow. But I am hoping we can get an understanding by the end of this month, which is 2 weeks away. I think that Joshua is willing to fight Povetkin, Wilder, or anybody. We just don't know whether Wilder is willing to fight anyone. What I do know is Alexander will fight for the world title next. It doesn't matter who it's against, but Team Povetkin wants to fight for the world title, and we're confident that it will happen. I almost feel, Sal, that Team Povetkin is actually negotiating or giving us the illusion that they're negotiating with both Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder, only because they mention him, saying that he's not willing unless they're talking about a previous issue.
Right.
And one other thing that my man Johnston wanted to throw in the mix here, just to get us going, is he said Eddie Hearn said that that he had sent out a request to extend the negotiation period for Povetkin versus Povetkin versus AJ, so he could work on negotiating the Wilder fight. And then Barry Hearn, who's Eddie's father, said the clock is ticking. We got to move quickly. He also said, I never in boxing believe any deal is done until the contract is actually signed. Personally, I don't ever believe a fight's going to happen until the bell rings and they both fight. I want to thank our Inside Scoop European or UK correspondent, Johnston, to give us this info long before it came publicized through other media outlets. But, Sal, what do you take out of this? Do you think that do you think that they really are trying to get the Anthony Joshua Deontay Wilder fight next, or are they setting us up for a fight after they each fight someone else? It almost seems like they're going to go down the road that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, where Anthony Joshua would fight Povetkin, meet his mandatory, and Deontay Wilder would go on and fight Dominic Breazeale, and then these two would meet. The only thing that makes it a little difficult is the time frame that Team Povetkin said that they're looking at fighting Anthony Joshua in September, which would make it impossible, I would think, to have a fight between Wilder and AJ by the end of the year.
Well, and you make a good case there, and I'll tell you what, I do not like the last part of this unfolding escapade here, because it does hint that Povetkin may be in the loop with either camp to try and solidify a position or fight with either fighter for the championship, their title, before the two champs do meet. And I don't like that. I think, it's too much on the line, too much to lose. And yes, November 10th, that we tentatively said the date may be between Wilder and Joshua, is a long way away. Is there enough time to get a fight together? Yeah, they could surely get a fight in July or August against a lesser of opponent. But would it be a smart thing to do? No, I don't think it would be, because you never know. This is the game of boxing. Any given night, anything could happen. And even that, but you got to go through 6 or 8 weeks of training and the camp, and you have injuries that occur there too. And so I think these guys should be in training camp in a bubble and just have their sights on each other, and let Povetkin fight the winner of the fight, maybe after a rematch clause or in between, maybe, I don't know. But I can't see how they could actually think about jeopardizing what's on the table right now between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. That's the fight that they really need to centralize and be focusing on right now.
Hold that thought. We got more to talk about on that subject as soon as we get back from this break.
We'll be right back.
Broken air conditioning, $4,400. Failing refrigerator, $2,500. Don't let outrageous repair and replacement bills like these bust your budget. Get the First American Home Warranty Plan. And when a covered appliance or system breaks, we'll repair it or replace it for you.
We had a high-end dishwasher go kaput. They put it in a brand new dishwasher.
We have plans that cover air conditioning, most appliances, plus heating, plumbing, electrical systems, and much more. Plans start as low as $25 a month. Why let a major appliance or system breakdown bust your budget or go through the hassle of finding trustworthy service people? Last year alone, we saved our customers over $120 million. Don't wait until something breaks and you're stuck with a huge bill.
You save a lot of money. It's absolutely worth it.
If you don't have First American warranty, get it.
Call 1-800-946-6234 for your free no-obligation quote.
Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace? Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And we're discussing the latest, AJ against Deontay. Or will it be AJ against Povetkin? And to be honest with you, Sal, I think it's going to be Anthony Joshua against Alexander Povetkin, and I'll tell you why. I think that, you know, Deontay Wilder, and we've said this and talked extensively about it. Now, let's just look at, you know, the way that the teams have moved and not what the fighters really want and what the fans want. So let's just look at it this way for a sec. We've both admitted, even though we disagree on the potential outcome of the fight and who's better, we both agree that Deontay Wilder has not been moved correctly in terms of the promotional deals. You know, he has not. He should be a household name. He should be. He's
by all means.
He's 40-0, 39 knockouts. You know, he's an American, so I mean, he should be a household name here in the States. And
Absolutely.
Quite honestly, he should be more popular worldwide, just like Anthony Joshua is. But his choice of his team has failed him. With that said, if it weren't for Deontay Wilder himself, self-promoting and you know, doing it the way he does, even though it's not one of my favorite ways, but it's been successful in a way. I believe that the $50 million offer to AJ and the way it was presented through social media, through a video, through every means except a written contract, which is the most valid way of trying to get a fight made. I think that that move was specifically designed to do exactly what's taking place right now. That we've talked about it constantly, that the interest level has been spiked, that the amount of money that Deontay Wilder will get has increased. I mean, all of these things have taken place since Deontay issued that $50 million offer. The facts still remain that Deontay Wilder does not have a promotional team that can afford that kind of money unless they got all of the backing from Showtime, which is very possible. With that said, the other part of this puzzle is that the WBA had ordered a Povetkin fight. He's the number one mandatory, title challenger to Anthony Joshua's WBA version of the title, and they have said that he has to fight that, otherwise he's risk being stripped. Now, granted, they all supposedly support unification, so they've issued Anthony Joshua's team an extension. The period had come and gone. I think May 5th it was up, the 30-day free negotiation period prior to it going to a purse bid. And Anthony Joshua has indicated time and time again that the belts are important to him. So for him to say, forget about it, I want Deontay, I don't care about the belt, doesn't seem to be an option. So with all that said, Sal, and that was a mouthful, I believe
But no, I'd do it myself.
Well, I believe that Alexander Povetkin will be Anthony Joshua's next opponent, and I also believe that Deontay Wilder will fight Dominic Breazeale, and then they will fight each other sometime next year, like I said a long time ago. However, I still hold strong to my belief, Sal, that this is an extremely risky move for both fighters, especially Deontay Wilder, for waiting an extra fight. Anything can happen. And just before we went to break, you even suggested that injuries happen a lot in training. What's your thoughts on the whole picture?
I'll tell you what, the way you just presented it, did you stay in a Holiday Inn Express last night?
I think I might have. I had too many scotches, so I don't remember.
But you sound like a Perry Mason. You gave all the facts, all the data, and all the reasoning. And I'll tell you what, you present a good case. And you may be ultimately right when you and I started debating this issue and having a potential fight against other opponents before they face each other. And with this whole thing with Povetkin coming up to light, it almost seems like that could be the route they're taking. Shame for us to have to wait, and shame on them for making us wait. But the bottom line is I can't even believe they would actually jeopardize what could happen in between another 8 weeks of training camp or 6 weeks of training camp and another opponent in between would be probably one of the most competitive, most watched fight since Pacquiao-Mayweather won. So I don't believe it. I like to think differently. I don't know, though. You make a real good case, Consigliere, and I think that you may be hitting a nerve. And you know what's a real shame, Bill, and I couldn't help but say, do you know how many fights Deontay Wilder had fought before he won the title? I mean, where was he in his career when he won the title?
He's made a bunch of successful defenses. I don't have his.
All right, but hypothetically, let's say he is 40-0. When this guy hit the 20-0 mark, I think a promotional team should have been hired to get this guy into the living room in a household name situation in the United States. This guy should have been promoted, because it's a shame, because we have an American fighter who is 40-0, who is a holder of one of the world championship title belts. And whether you like him or not, this guy deserves the attention and respect as far as being a champion. And I think it's a shame that he is not a household name at this point of his career. He's 40-0. This guy could have been on any talk show. He could have been on a TV show. He could have shown up at fundraisers or events. He could have been highlighted. He could have been promoted. This guy that's what the shame of it is. He's wasted years. Not he. The people that he entrusted to promote him. They wasted his years as coming up and as being a champion. He should have been at every big major fundraiser. He could have been at a Jerry Lewis telethon. He could have been so many places to get his name and his attention out there. It's just a shame. I wish I could have done it for him. I would have done it with a smile, and this guy would have been known throughout every household in the United States.
Well, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. You know, the point.
I'm telling you.
Well, the issue here is the fact that, you know, Deontay Wilder, he has been forced to do it all on his own, and you know, he's loyal. You know, the one thing that I admire about there's a lot of things I admire about Deontay Wilder. I really admire his relationship with his daughter and all of that. I mean, that comes first. But the
that
truth
could
of
have been a heartwarming story too, up close and personal.
Well, maybe. Let's be fair to Deontay here. Maybe he doesn't want it like that.
No,
maybe he's protecting his kid. You know, so I mean, I'm not going to go there. Like I'll be critical. I'll be critical. No, but what I'm saying is I'll be critical of fighters inside the ring and even some of their antics outside the ring. But when it comes to their family and stuff, you know, you got to respect where the respect is due. If he brings it up, then it's a different story. But in any event, my point is this. One of the things I really admire about Deontay Wilder is his loyalty. You guys can say, or people can say a lot of things about Deontay, whether you like him or not. You know, there's clearly two sides of the fence with this particular matchup. You know, people, and this is the part about boxing that's evolved, and I always blame it. I'm not even going to mention his name, but you know who I blame it on. We'll be talking about him later. But, you know, he's really caused a lot of division in this sport. And what I see, it's almost like politics. You're on one side, and everything else you hate. If it's not your side, you hate it. It's you know, boxing used to be, my favorite. You know, like for example, when Muhammad Ali, when I was young, you know, sometimes I rooted for Muhammad Ali, and sometimes I didn't. Depending upon who he was fighting, I had other fighters that, you know, I was a bigger fan of, you know.
You were a Joe Frazier fan, weren't you?
Well, actually, no. I rooted for Ali against Frazier, you know. Wow. But I know. It's weird.
You rooted for George Foreman.
No, I rooted for Ali.
Then you're an Ali fan.
Well, you know, the fights I didn't root for Ali was Sonny Liston, you know, Chavez,
that's
you know.
A big one.
I mean, yeah, you know, but anyway.
You like Ernie Shavers?
Oh, Ernie Shavers is a good friend of mine. You know, the thing is that listen, getting back to Deontay, you know, leave Ali out of this. You know, he's the greatest.
I love Ali.
But getting back to Deontay, you know, Deontay Wilder, I respect his loyalty to the team around him. Because they've really done nothing for this man, you know, and you can't, you know, the best thing you could say is they carefully moved his career in terms of building him up to 40-0. I mean, let's face it, you know, not that Anthony Joshua fought every tough badass there was out there, but Deontay Wilder has had a very easy road to where he is. You know, you could make the argument that Artur Spitska and Luis Ortiz are the two top fighters he's ever faced in his life. I'm not giving any credit to Stavern or anybody else. But with that said, Deontay Wilder, even though his biggest payday has only been $2.5 million, and that was his last fight against Ortiz, you know, he's been loyal. And really, that's the problem with this guy. He had to pound his chest and say these outrageous things. He wants to kill somebody in the ring, all that stuff to get attention. It's worked for him, but unfortunately, his loyalty may be hurting his pocketbook. Hold that thought, Sal. We got to take one more break here. Okay. For now, it's good. We got other stuff going on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2.
Billy C will be right back.
relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt, the innovative technology to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
This is important news for women using birth control medications and devices. If you or a loved one have been diagnosed with a pseudotumor after using one of these birth control drugs or devices, you may be eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Contact the law firm of Davis & Crump right now if you or a loved one have used one of these birth control medications or devices and were diagnosed with a pseudotumor to see if you are eligible for a cash award and medical expenses. Call now. Operators are standing by.
Hologram USA presents a proposal to all investors. Hologram USA is an innovative three-dimensional patented technology that shifted the paradigm in media technology. Our patented hologram technology that brought you Tupac and Coachella, Whitney Houston, Billie Holiday, and many more is integrating live performances to bring your favorite past and present entertainers beyond your imagination. Invest in the patented technology before the banks scoop up all the stock. Invest in Hologram USA today. Hologram USA Flagship Theater, located on Hollywood Boulevard's Walk of Fame, is the first of many to come. Call now to be part of the explosive growth. Pick up the phone. Dial the number on your screen now. Invest in Hologram USA today. Call the number on your screen right now to learn about this investment opportunity.
Call 800-624-1673. 800-624-1673.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C., the only radio host man enough to take a punch from Mike Tyson.
Wait a minute, man. Hold on there. Jeremy, man, I need you to take this one, all right?
Wait, what? No way. I can't do this.
Need I remind you I'm Billy C., damn it? Now put on that mustache and get in there.
Hey, look at me. I'm Billy C. Crap.
Undisputed heavyweight champion of Boxing Talk Radio. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. I've maintained all along, Sal, that the best scenario for this whole thing would be a 3-fight deal, 2 with each other. I strongly believe that Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder should fight next. Then I think that they should both fight someone else. Obviously, the loser of the first fight would need to get another win, and then the winner of the fight would need to have a stay busy fight, and then have the rematch. That is the most logical and most financially rewarding approach. What's happening now is greed is getting in the way. All right, they're trying to marinate. I don't care what both sides say. Well, you're right. But you see, the sanctioning bodies, they will support a unification. That's why they invented all the other level of belts, the super champion and all of that. That's how they get around that. But the truth of the matter is that the greed factor, them trying to make more money from the first fight, is what the stumbling block is. I don't care what anybody says. All right, Deontay Wilder can't make the money here in the States. He can't. He just proved it by fighting Luis Ortiz, the best opponent that he's ever faced, and he made the most money he ever made at $2.5 million, slightly under $2.5 million. Here's a guy that's now 40-0 with 39 knockouts as a heavyweight in the United States, and the most money he's ever made is $2.5 million. You know, Anthony Joshua fights in England, fights Carlos Takam, and makes $20 million. You know, fights Joseph Parker, makes almost $30 million to fight him. And these are guys that, you know, so even at the very least, Anthony Joshua can continue to fight those guys in the UK and make the $20 million, something that Deontay hasn't done yet. Now, Deontay can pound his chest and say that AJ is ducking him all he wants, but the truth of the matter is, like you've said 100 times, at the end of the day, the fighters make the decision. One of or both of these guys are not saying, hey, Mr. Manager, Mr. Promoter, Mr. Advisor, make the fight. I don't care.
Make this happen.
I don't care.
I don't care what it takes, by hook or crook, make it happen.
Exactly. And truthfully, you know, I know this is going to sound stupid, okay?
No.
So, no, it is. You know, I know it's going to sound stupid to say take a $10 million or $20 million deal versus waiting and get an $80 million deal. I know that sounds stupid to the novice, okay? But there's so much risk in this sport, so many weird things happening. An injury that ends your career, a health situation that's non-boxing related ends your career. Your opponent that you're dreaming about making $80 million gets knocked out, and that ends the fight. I mean, there's so much. You know, they have value in hand right now that's more money than at least Deontay Wilder has ever made in his life. And we're talking about life-changing money, all right? I think it's ridiculous that they're dragging it out. And it's certainly, although it gets the airplay and the discussion and everything that they want it to get, it's that part of it's working. I just don't know where it's going to really help in the pocketbook if they don't do the fight. Because I'll tell you what, Sal, it's pushing people away.
Well, it's pushing people away, and here's what we got to think: how old is Deontay Wilder right now? About.
He's 30-something. He's in his 30s.
Right. Well, here's what I got to say to Deontay, and believe me, Deontay, in case you don't know it, I'm a big fan of yours, pal. And here's what I would be concerned about: not only what you're saying as far as the potential loss of this fight happening if they take these side fights or postponements. We never know. Deontay Wilder broke his hand a while back, and we had to wait for that to heal. There could be an incident of breaking an ankle, shin splints, stress fractures, this, that, anything else, a shoulder injury. Training, that's just training. Cuts, you know, it could be there's so many variables out there when a fighter is preparing for a camp and a fight to reach a date. And you know, it's seldom that a fighter enters a ring 100%. I mean, you have enough to go into a ring and feel confident you're going to win, but you're seldom going into a fight 100%. The bottom line is this, too. And I just go back to this because I can't believe we have an American heavyweight champion who is 40-0. And like I said, it makes me sad because he's got how many years left in this career. And if I was Deontay Wilder, I'd be looking, what can I do to maximize my career for the next couple of years to take as much from the game as I've given? And that's what he deserves, and that's what he needs right now. And to look at the big money fights that the Joshua scenario would bring between the initial fight and a rematch should be enough for him to retire with a smile and live the rest of his days doing things. But this guy should have been on TV shows. The guy should have been promoted. He should have been at fundraisers. He could have been a big name. Just like Muhammad Ali was, just like all other heavyweight champs have had notoriety and recognition. it's a shame that they did not give this to Deontay Wilder because he deserves it, and he could have been in a better position to make that buck throughout these years. Now he should definitely look at the best opportunity to make some big, serious money. Because, ladies and gentlemen, in case, and Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, when you see a fighter fight for $10 million, you're going to be lucky. He's going to be lucky if he's going to go walk home with half of that money, because you still have to pay 10% the standard contract, 10% off to the trainer, 33 1/3 to a manager. You got training expenses. You got taxes to Uncle Sam. So guess what? That $10 million doesn't wind up in your pocket. It does dissipate rather quickly. Is that correct, Bill?
Of course, you know that, and
I know that.
you know, they have you know, a lot of fighters are footing the bill for the training and everybody that they
their
bring.
entourage and everything else.
The entourage, and that's
you go to 6 weeks up in the Poconos or out somewhere else. Guess what? It's coming off of your purse, pal.
You know, the thing that's always made me laugh about athletes, not just boxers, but, you know, they start surrounding themselves with the entourage. And a lot of times, you know, you got the bodyguards, et cetera, et cetera.
Mike Tyson was famous for that.
Well, what happens is once the career is over, those guys, they don't leave yet, and they still drawing their salary and you know, everything else. Listen, my man Coach just gave me we have our you know, our show chat, not the YouTube chat, which we love how that's evolving, and don't forget us about our super chats, but and they're also discussing it in the YouTube chat room about the suspension that Deontay Wilder. Well, Deontay Wilder is it's listed as an indefinite suspension on BoxRec. Now here's the thing. Number one, let's keep one thing in line, boys and girls. BoxRec is not official. All right. Now, I'm not suggesting that Deontay Wilder is not on suspension, but Fight Facts is the official. Okay, so whatever appears on BoxRec, I look at as for information purposes only. Now,
you got my birthday wrong.
I will say that. See, there you go. See, Sal's actually 75 instead of 65. But
I kind of hinted that I'm 1 year younger.
Oh well, yeah, because you lied, you bastard. But
but
anyway, that's because you had a whole pocket full of federal IDs. But anyway, the truth of the matter is, is that normally in some reputable states that have, you know, strong commissions, like in New York, and that was Deontay Wilder's last fight, they issue a medical suspension after a knockdown or in a case of a brutal fight. Now, you can say what you want about Deontay Wilder's fantastic knockout victory over Luis Ortiz. However, don't lose sight of the fact that he took a severe beating in the round prior to that. And as a result, the New York State Athletic Commission most likely put him on suspension pending a CAT scan. That's normally what they do. They'll put you on a suspension, then they want a CAT scan. They want a doctor to reevaluate it and give them a thumbs up. He's okay to continue. So I wouldn't really read too deeply into that, because I'm sure that Luis Ortiz was issued a suspension as well from New York.
Yes,
it just happens. But in any event, I feel very strongly that this fight will happen. I think that they are making a huge mistake, and I blame this on Team Wilder. Okay, now I blame them with an asterisk. I feel that they should get the most money that they possibly can. And I think that their moves suggest that they're trying to inflate, you know, the offers, etc. But don't be too greedy and let this fight slip through. As much as I still believe that I'm going to be correct about having this fight not take place until next year, I hope and pray that I'm wrong, because I think that the fight should take place next, and I think that not only is it a huge fight for both of these guys, but I think it's a huge fight for the sport. And like I said, you know, you want to pad a deal, then you settle on a fee. You do a 3-fight deal, no matter what. You see, this is the stipulation I would put. I would put a 3-fight deal regardless of the outcome of any of those 3 fights. Yep. You sign a deal to fight each other twice with a fight in between. And even if your fighter loses the fight in between, you still have to have that 3rd fight. That's the protection. That's the insurance. That shows us that we have these two top-notch fighters in the heavyweight division, guaranteed 3 big paydays, win, lose, or draw. I don't think that you can come up with a better deal than that. I'm sorry, you can't. And if they're going to poo-poo something like that, or if they're going to hold out, meaning, Deontay Wilder's team, hold out for more money, hold out to have it in the U.S. Listen, I don't care how you slice it. I don't care whose side you're on in terms of who you like better. There is no way that Deontay Wilder is the A side. There is no way that Anthony Joshua should even be. It should be suggested that he has to conform to all the concessions that Deontay Wilder wants to have. So it can't. Listen, let's move on, Sal. What's your final thoughts on that? Because I got some more news that you're gonna love.
I can't wait to hear it. Bill, I think you've definitely rounded it off to the factual details that you and I have discussed all along, and they do have to have this meeting of the minds and the meeting of the signature, and they should really look what could happen as potentially damaging to each fighter and their direction, and that's why you take what you have right in front of you and you maximize what you can. But you got to look at the big picture. You don't just look at the micro view. You don't look at what's in front of you. You look at the big scenario, the whole picture, and you look about what may materialize that's not in your control. So I think you hit some good points, and I do not feel as confident as I did earlier today. That this fight would be the next fight that each of these opponents are going to face each other because of some of the factual details and what you've encompassed with this conversation. I think you hit some really good, valid points, and I commend you on it.
Oh, hey, thanks, Sal. Thank you. I
the
appreciate
Express
it.
saved you again.
I appreciate it.
You're the Einstein of boxing.
Yeah. You must have stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. I think they slipped. That wasn't a chocolate. Listen, let me tell you something. That wasn't a chocolate that they left you on your pillow, man. I'll tell you that. But
wait, look at that chocolate. That's from when I went to that casino. That's a chocolate bar.
What is? Oh, right. Yeah, that's a chocolate bar. That's nice. That's nice. All right, so let's move on. I got some emails to read and stuff like that. We'll forever be talking about AJ and Deontay. I think that you're going to see, unfortunately, that you're going to see Povetkin against AJ and Brazil against Deontay. And I got news for you. Both of those fights are tough fights for each of those guys. Brazil is not an easy win for Deontay. This kid can take a wallop. He's the only thing that's going for Wilder's way quicker, way more fluid than Brazil. Brazil is very. He's not fast. He's slow. His defense is suspect. But God, does he have a chin? And I got
this feel. Chin, but Deontay Wilder knock him out.
Listen, he should. I'm just saying that it's not an easy fight. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying.
Given night, I always say it.
No, I'm not saying that Deontay can't beat him. I'm just saying it's not an easy fight. And the same thing goes for Anthony Joshua. I tell you right now, that Povetkin fight for Anthony Joshua, I think that Anthony Joshua has more trouble with Alexander Povetkin than he would with Deontay. And the reason why I say that is because the one thing that stands out, every fighter has weaknesses, okay? And we could go on and on. I feel that Deontay has several that could be exposed by AJ. But the one really bad and AJ has several that Deontay can expose. One is running out of gas. You don't want to do that against Wilder. But the one weakness that Anthony Joshua clearly has is fighting smaller guys. He has struggled immensely with smaller opponents. And Alexander Povetkin, even though he's no spring chicken, people criticize Ortiz and Deontay, including myself. But Alexander Povetkin still has some pop. And the one of the question marks on Anthony Joshua still is that chin. So I think both those fights are dangerous for those two. But let's move on. We've all heard Gervonta Davis. We both love this kid.
Great kid.
You know,
Great fighter.
I think that he is a really he's a superstar in the making. All right. And clearly, a lot of people are associating him with a possible showdown with Lomachenko. I would love to see it. I would love to see how Lomachenko deals with his hand speed and his punching power, and the fact that Gervonta Davis is willing to exchange and has a mean streak of his own. But all is not well with Gervonta Davis and Floyd Mayweather. Now, we've heard this, all right, and I've said this all along, that I feel that Floyd Mayweather, or specifically Mayweather Promotions, could and should become the top United States-based promotional company if they did one thing, and that requires Floyd to stop with his ego BS. Floyd is a guy that claims he's the best ever, and really never proved it in the ring in terms of excitement level. Yes, he fought a lot of champions, et cetera, but it's just the timing. So I'm not going to say that. But as a promoter, if he used the same techniques to promote and build his fighter stable and let them excel without being nervous that they're going to overshadow himself, Mayweather Promotions could be the top promotional company in the States. Now, they had the beginning stages with young talent like Gervonta Davis and Badu Jack, but it had been brought to the public's attention that Gervonta Davis was not happy with the way Floyd is treating him, especially since he's getting better and better, similar to what happened with Adrian Broner. It's escalated to the point where Davis was quoted as saying yesterday, when he asked about Floyd publicly announcing that he wants to put his fighter, which is Gervonta Davis, in the ring with Lomachenko for Lomachenko's next fight. When he was asked about that, Gervonta Davis said, I felt when I said what I said that I was forced into my first title fight. Then there you go. There you go. He's talking to another fighter without talking to me, and not even talking to that promotional or management company. He's referring to Lomachenko's team. That's Floyd. He thinks he's above it all. When he was asked about how he would rate Floyd as a promoter, he just laughed and said no comment. He was asked if there was any way that he and Floyd have discussed a way to settle the differences that are clearly going on. He said, which is strange, we don't have a beef. We're just not seeing eye to eye. He's traveling. He does what he does. I'm doing what I do. I'm traveling. I'm fine. And when he was asked how long he's under contract with Floyd, he says 2 years. I think I'm supposed to get like 3 fights. I mean, they've been moving me right. Mayweather Promotions has been moving me right. They're doing what they're supposed to do with me. It's Floyd that's not. And then right after this interview, Gervonta Davis went on social media saying that he wants to fight Floyd Mayweather in the ring to settle their differences. What's your thoughts?
I might pay for that one. In reality, there's going to have to be a catch weight involved here. But I'll tell you what, that says a lot about Gervonta Davis, how he does really feel about his mentor and his promoter. That's a mouthful right there. And boy, I'll tell you, it's him acknowledging that he does feel that he could have been moved along a little bit better. I don't know.
Well, he said that he feels that
the team, the promotional outfit did a good job,
right? And that's what matters. But what he has said in the past is that basically that Floyd's jealous of him, and I kind of see that. I saw that with Adrian Broner. And when you see, let me just ask you this: if you're a promoter, or you're an advisor, or you're somebody that's a young fighter's looking up to, would you take him to strip clubs, and would you put him in situations where he's out at 2, 3 in the morning? I mean, would you kind of encourage that, or would you take him down a different path, especially if you yourself had gone down those paths? I mean, how would you approach it?
I would give him the old Chicky Ferrara talk, as Chicky told me. He said, listen. And I would say, listen. I said, you have a few short years to do something very special and great. That means you're going to have to hold yourself in a special place with your life going forward. That means you've got to do things a little differently than the masses. And that means, you know what? You got to get your balance in life. You got to get your rest. You got to get your conditioning. You got to get your diet. You've got to sacrifice for the next 3 to 5 years to do something very special. And if you do not do these things, you're gonna have a potential that you never were able to reach. So I would take him under my arm, and I'd say, hey, listen, this is how you're gonna do this. We're gonna paint a good picture of you, and we're gonna make sure you do the right things. And I'm not gonna babysit you, but the bottom line is I'm gonna guide you. I'm gonna help influence you to be an upstanding citizen, a good character guy. And we're going to show up at fundraisers. We're going to show up at events. We're going to do some good things. We're going to promote you. We're going to get you out there on the airwaves, and you're going to be a household name. And this is what we're going to do to move you along, and we're going to prepare you and present you with some good opportunities and fights and some good money. That's what I would do. I'd say you got to sacrifice the next couple of years. You've got to be special, and you're going to do things different, because the average person doesn't have to do the things that we're going to have you do. Because this is something that you're going to have for the rest of your life going forward, but you need to sacrifice the next 3 to 5 years.
You know, I agree, and that's, you know, easier said than done. But the first step would be setting by example, teaching. Well,
living by example. That's what I say. That's what I say to my employees every day at work. Is, you know, we lead by example, and they do a great job. And any type of leadership comes from seeing example and something special. And that's what Gervonta Davis needed to see from Floyd, doing something special, doing something unique, having the one-on-one time and conversation and talk. What made Floyd so special? Share it with your fighter. Do some things, and you know, make it apparent that you do care, you do concern, and not only are you willing to take this fighter underneath your wing, but you're willing to give him all the tools necessary to become something special, and not just feel that he's going to be vying or tying or looking for a situation where he's going to surpass where you were as a fighter. You know, that would be you know, like other trainers have said, you know, you spend a whole career learning the game and fighting and catching it and developing. And the only thing that they always said to do was, we'll pass it on to another fighter one day. That's the old school. That's the Don Turners. That's the Ali Stoltz. That's the Chicky Ferraras. That's what they all told me, because they felt that boxing was that special. And whenever I thanked them for showing me, wow, that was great, Chick, thank you, or Don, that was great, man, I love that, or Johnny Torres, everybody else, well, Sal, just show another fighter that one day or so, you know, because they had the insight, they had the feeling, they knew that training and the continuity or whatever was going to be translated from generation to fighter was somehow being lost, and they wanted to put in the preventive steps and measures. So if Floyd Mayweather could say, hey, I finally could let go of my fame and things, knowing that I could share and help propel some fighter onto another level of where they are now, to a level that maybe even I couldn't surpass. Who knows? That's what they should do.
Well, you know, that's the whole point.
That's being selfless, not selfish.
Well, the whole point is something that you said. You know, a good promoter, especially a former fighter, wants to help a young fighter achieve, and they want to help them avoid the pitfalls and mistakes that they themselves made. Floyd has a tendency to not do that. He wants to help a fighter as much as he can until that fighter may all of a sudden start to to get the recognition that, you know, he craves. Like, for example, Floyd is always talking about his fighters fighting the best. Floyd never fought the best at their prime. He fought big names, but never at the best. Anyway, we're going to take a short break. I got some emails to read. We got some news. The return of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Does anybody really care about that? But we'll talk about that and some more in about 2.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free. Need relief from backaches and stiffness in your hips or down your legs? Then you need Dr. Ho's Back Relief Belt. The innovative technology works to support and decompress your spine. And now it's covered by Medicare.
Every patient with back pain should be wearing this belt.
Nothing gave me instant relief except for the Dr. Ho belt.
Feel good while standing, walking, driving, doing housework, and while laying down. And now Dr. Ho's patented belt is available at our best price ever. It's even covered by Medicare. Order now and get the easy-to-use hand pump and back rehabilitation DVD free.
You know, similar belts can cost you almost $1,000, but my belts won't cost you $500, not $300, not even $200. I will give you my special TV price.
And remember, Dr. Ho's belt is covered by Medicare.
If you know a friend or family member that suffers with pain, get them my system today. Help them live with less pain, be more active, and get back to doing the things they love. Give them the gift of health.
Listen to this important message. If you owe money to the IRS, you will want to hear this. Penalties and interest compound daily on your back taxes, putting you under a mountain of debt. Tax 10,000 has years of experience connecting people with tax resolution specialists. Working through the IRS Fresh Start program, they will handle all the necessary forms, and if you qualify, you may end up saving thousands of dollars. Call Tax 10,000 at 800-773-4604.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. He may not have an Excellence in Broadcasting award, but the night's still young. And he's got martinis. So you never know what may be by morning. It's Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And, you know, I don't know, Sal. I mean, it is what it is with, you know, Gervonta Davis. I like Davis, and I hope that he accomplishes what he set out to. He's a special talent. Very rarely do you see guys, you know, with the ability. You know, you see other fighters that achieve a lot, Sal, but it's due to, you know, a lot of hard work, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not suggesting that Gervonta Davis doesn't put his time in the gym, but he's also possesses some natural ability that other fighters can work their ass off day in and day out and never achieve. So I hope that Davis accomplishes what he set out to, and that's to win a lot of titles in multiple weight classes. That's what he said, and I'm looking forward to seeing that myself.
Me too. I think he's a special fighter. I think he's got a lot to give us in the future as far as his skill level and his ability. And I think we're going to see some real special fights between him and his opponents. He's a star. He's a future superstar.
Some news that I wanted to mention: Julio Cesar Chavez apparently will be returning to the ring in August. He will be fighting slightly over the super middleweight division, so they claim, and he has just signed with Eddie Hearn. It was reported yesterday that he, just signed. And what's your thoughts about him getting another chance?
Well, he's gotten several, hasn't he? I thought the last one he had the opportunity to do something special was falling well short of its mark. I'd rather see his father, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., make a comeback to the ring. In fact, that's a fight. Give me that fight. I asked Bob Yalen to get me that fight in the 90s. Let's promote that fight. I'll come back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
It's not about me. I know. I'd rather see. I don't know, Bill. That's a hard thing to look at. I felt he's had more than one opportunity, which he has, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And every time he's gotten that big opportunity, he's fallen well short. Is he going to be serious this time? Is he going to train this time, that time? I don't know. How many more strikes does he get at the bat? I don't know.
Well, the question is how many more chances do the fans want to give him? And I think they've given him enough. The sad thing about Chavez Jr. is that his lack of dedication is what's been his enemy, his biggest enemy, So we'll see what happens.
He's got some skill. He's got some level of opportunity and skill, but like you just said, his lack of dedication and taking it serious. But you know what, though? I don't see that nasty streak. I don't see that fire. I don't see that intensity, that desire like I did in his father. His father was a legend and still is a legend. And, it's hard to live up to that kind of status and legend. He'll never do it. And nor should he really even try. He should become his own, which he has, obviously, become his own entity, his own fighter, but he should have maybe been a little bit more dedicated to the sport that his father respected so much.
Well, his father's the one that gets all uptight when he sees the lack of dedication.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Exactly. I mean, lead by example. I don't think the father could have done much more. I mean, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. is a legend. I mean, the guy was stellar. He did everything he could do to attain the level of success and opportunities and dedication and spirit of a fighter and a warrior, and that's what he did.
Well, the
apple fell a little bit further from the tree than what we wanted.
Yeah,
than what we anticipated.
No, I think that apple was hand delivered by the snake to Chavez. But anyway, let's get some emails out the way. This is from Jesse. He says, "Hey guys, I didn't get a chance to watch the fights this week, but a good win for Gary Russell, and maybe he should fight the Leo Mares winner, Carl Frampton, Warrington, or Valdez. Who is the best in the division?" And then he says Adonis versus Jack rematch, or Bivol or Godsvik. First of all, I think they're talking about Gary Russell going after the Leo Santa Cruz Abner Mares winner. I think Gary Russell, like Dak suggested yesterday, should be mentioned in, when we're talking pound for pound fighters and stuff. I mean, if he continues to put on performances like he did against Jojo Diaz, and I give him a hell of a lot of credit, Sal, because Diaz worked that body. I'm shocked that it didn't slow Gary Russell down. And although I've always been a big fan, and like I said last Friday, I was really hesitant. I went against Gary.
But
it wasn't because I didn't like him. I mean,
No.
I'm a bigger fan of Gary Russell. I was just, I thought for some reason that Jojo Diaz would wear him down. Clearly was the bigger, stronger fighter, but Gary Russell was ready for it, and I would love to see him fight the the winner of Leo Santa Cruz and Abner Mares. Right now, Leo Santa Cruz is that guy, and I think he's going to come out on top against Mares, and then that would be a great showdown with Gary Russell.
I think you're right, 100%.
You never know. I mean, Mares, you can't underestimate him. But
no.
As far as the Adonis Stevenson versus Badu Jack rematch, I like a rematch. I'd like to see a rematch, and I would like to see if Badu Jack changes the game plan. I think the game plan and the fact that they, purposely gave up the first half of the fight was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I would go right after Adonis Stevenson. Even those early rounds that Badu Jack gave up, they weren't dominating rounds by Stevenson. He squeaked by him. So I'm not a fan of Adonis Stevenson at all. But
I'm getting that picture. I can assess that.
You see that? It's sort of like I'm not a fan. It's sort of like I'm not.
On the wall, I got to clean up.
Yeah, you're pretty good. Nothing gets by you. I bet you kind of noticed that I'm not a big fan of Floyd Mayweather either. Probably, right?
Well, I'm starting to get that hint too. I see these things. It takes I assess very carefully.
He says, how about a mismatch between David Benavidez against Matt Korobov, who's a middleweight, probably a small one at that. It's disappointing in this bout. It's disappointing in this bout. I wish you guys would learn how to end a sentence with a period, and it makes me sound like I can't read, He says, it's disappointing, period. And then in this bout, I was expecting him to fight top 10 super middleweight. I expected him to face Jose Uzukague, Callum Smith, Nahib Mohammed, Jesse Hart, or James DeGale. Is this a stay busy fight since those guys aren't ready in training camp, or is this a padding of the record to make them look good? Listen, once you're a world champion, you should be facing top-notch opposition. I agree with Jesse here, Sal, that Matt Korobov isn't the guy. A lot of people have been questioning David Benavidez. I love the kid. But once you're a champion, there's no more building you up, man. You got to start facing the top guys. And, there's nothing worse than watching one-sided fights. We're looking for sports betting to become legal here in New York. It's definitely going to be legal. I think next week they kick it off in
really?
Atlantic City. Oh, yeah. We had a whole show about it. Where were you? We were talking about that. And boxing used to be such a good sport to bet on. But now, I mean, you're taking huge underdogs and hoping for something fluky to happen because the fights are so, one-sided, But lately we've been treated to some good fights. But in any event, I think I'm with Jess on this. I think it's a mismatch fight, personally. He says, what's your thoughts on the Gerwin Anticayas fight in Fresno? I'm thinking about going, and I apologize. I probably murdered that name. Gerwin Anticayas, I think is how you pronounce it, and I apologize to everyone's name I've murdered. He's scheduled to fight Jonas Sultan coming up in a couple of weeks. I would say to go to the fight, Jesse. First of all, anytime you can get to a live fight, it's worth it. But this fight, this fight in the super flyweight division. Absolutely. When you look at Gerwin, I'm going to call him Gerwin. He's the IBF World Super Flyweight champion. He's ranked at number 7 as a super flyweight. He's 26 years old, same age as Jonas Sultan, and he's 2 inches taller at 5'6". He's also a southpaw. Okay, so and Sultan is not. So right off the bat, you got some issues there that would make an interesting fight. Here's another interesting stat. Gerwin has been a world champion. He won the title against McJoe Arroyo back in 2016. Since then, he's including that fight. He fought 5 times in a year and a half. So he's busy compared to most fighters today. And who did he fight aside from winning the title against Arroyo, he beat Jose Rodriguez, who was 32-4. He beat Teruru Kinshuti, who was 25-1 with a draw. He beat Jamie Conlon, who was 19-0. And in his last fight, he beat Israel Gonzalez, who was 21-1. 5 successful title defenses in 1.5 years, all against top opposition in his division. You can't knock him for that. But no, wait, there's more. Because Jonas Sultan is ranked at number 6 by the computer, a higher ranking than Jerwin. And you look at his record, and in his last 3 fights, and by the way, his record is 14-3. He's got 3 losses. He lost to a fighter in 2015. Then he lost a couple of fights early in his career. But his last 3 fights in December of 2016, Mazzoli Teat, he knocked out in 2. His record 15-1-2 at the time. He also beat, despite him being old, Sonny Boy Yarrow, knocked him out in 8 rounds. Yarrow, known for his chin, beat him. And his last fight, he beat John Real Casimiro in 12 rounds. Yeah, you could say another older fighter. But this is a good fight. These two guys, I tell you right now, Jesse, to answer your question, you get a chance to go to this one, go to it. It's going to be a good one. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
For sure. So I'll keep that one on your radar there, Sal. But, I just want to say I want to talk to somebody in the chat room that's in the Billy C. Boxing chat room. My man Boxing Nut. Here's the thing. We used this particular chat room. We got infiltrated and we changed it around. Well, we kind of use it for the show. If you want to get some good discussion, go on over to the YouTube chat room. That's kind of taken over as the main chat room. A lot of people are in there. We do have moderators policing it, so everything's good in there. So go over there for some talk. Plus, it gives us the ability to receive super chats, which are very important. Very important, Sal, especially the way the finances are going these days. But another email. You ready?
Yeah, let's go, man. I can't wait. I'll read the chat room. That's just,
Well, no, the chat room. Now he's saying this is the original room. He's right. I mean, he's not. He's saying all this stuff. That's right. And I'm with him. I agree. The only reason why we had a bail is because of the idiots. I can't stand people that don't talk about boxing now. And me and my man. Boxing Nut, obviously we don't. I guess he's a Floyd fan. I'm not. We don't agree with that. But the thing is like he said earlier in the chat room, the whole idea is to have constructive conversation. Not everybody has to agree with us, and I don't want them to. But unfortunately, we had a lot of people bail. Because of a couple of individuals who have since been banned and are not allowed in. But at this point, we discovered that the YouTube chat seems to be picking up, and we like the fact that we can get super chats. That's the second time I've mentioned that. But anyway, let me get going with my man, another email. This is from my man Mitch. He says, hey, Billy C., I was at the Gary Russell Jr. Jojo Diaz fight this weekend. I have a few observations, but first, I want you to look at this. And he sent me a picture of Canelo Alvarez. He says, in the picture below, look at the neck difference. He says also in the video, look how small he is and how muscular he's not. And all of a sudden, he becomes a monster. He says, if the picture and the video change come September, then the chemist is once again ahead of the drug test. Now, I did look at the pictures that came with this email, and he's right. The still shot of Canelo Alvarez looked like he was a Russian weightlifter. I mean, his neck looked like Manny Pacquiao's head a few years ago. I mean, it was... Do you ever see, years ago they had this movie called Kentucky Fried Movie, and they kept saying, It was a joke. It was a spoof.
I remember.
They kept saying, "Look at his neck. He's got no neck. The guy has no neck." And this is like Canelo Alvarez. I mean,
Kentucky Fried Movie.
Yeah, his neck kind of blends in with his gigantor head and his shoulders. So it does look like Canelo has been not following the proper rules. Let's just say that in these photos.
Maybe he's just on a different cattle burger diet.
Yeah, he's on a burger diet. He eats nothing but beef. Beef, beef, beef. When you say, "Where's the beef?" they say, "Canelo's refrigerator." That's where it is. Where's the beef? It's in Canelo. It's at Canelo's house. The only meat I eat is Canelo. He's got his private butchers.
Who was it? That was what commercial. Now let's not plug it.
It was Wendy, McDonald's.
Where's the beef?
Yeah. It was a McDonald's commercial.
I don't know if it was McDonald's. It might have been Wendy's. That was Clara Pellin, wasn't it? Something like that. Clara Pellin.
I don't know. Maybe it was Wendy's. Maybe it was
Wendy's. Where's the beef?
All right. Let's see what's going on. Okay, so he says right here. Okay, so he says, number one, I sat right behind. This is his observations from the fight. He says, I sat right behind press row. Mauro Ranallo's voice carries throughout the arena. In this case, the arena seats about 2,500 when it's packed, and I'm telling you, I could hear his voice over everyone. He says it got worse. Most fans left after the Gary Russell fight. Well, he stayed to call the action for the Badu Jack Stevenson fight. If you guys recall, they were calling that action from ringside in Michigan or wherever the other fight was. It wasn't Michigan. Where was it? Was it Michigan? Now I'm trying to think where that fight was. Wherever it was, it wasn't where they were fighting. It wasn't in Canada. Yeah, it wasn't in Canada. All right. My mind is going. So's a lot of other things. But he says after you can hear his voice carrying loudly. He says, I should have recorded it for you so you can hear it. He says, and for some reason, Oscar De La Hoya was not allowed in the ring at all. Usually a promoter's allowed in the ring with his fighters for the intros. Oh, it was in Maryland. He says the Maryland Commission wouldn't let him in the ring with Jojo Diaz. I got no explanation. Don't know if the commentators mentioned it or not. I don't recall them doing it. But then again, I try not to listen to that idiot. He says, I don't know how Jojo Diaz's body shot sounded on TV, but, man, they were loud as hell in the arena. They sounded loud on TV, but remember I was talking about another fighter who I watched throw body shots that you could hear over the crowd noise, and he didn't have that many knockouts.
I was telling you, might have been slapping. Yeah.
Yeah, but Jojo Diaz was not slapping those body punches.
No. Jojo Diaz was not slapping. He was planting.
Yeah, but I give a shout out to my man Boxing Nut, but his name is Morgan, so I appreciate the accolades he's given us in the chat. But
thank you, Morgan.
He says, lastly, and this should be directed to someone made a comment in the other chat room on YouTube about why I don't like Steven Espinosa. He says, lastly, Steven Espinosa was at the fight, Billy C. He says he looks worse in person. There's something about this guy. I wouldn't trust him alone with anyone, especially kids. I know. He's got this look. And for all I know, I've never met Steven Espinosa.
Wrong, man.
It is wrong. And I've never met Steven Espinosa in person, okay? So, and given...
You probably like him, Billy. He's probably a nice guy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, the truth of the matter is that, he has helped big time. He has helped Showtime's boxing program. We've gotten treated to some fantastic fights on Showtime, and we got to give Steven Espinosa credit. However, if you judge a book by its cover, which you shouldn't, and trust me, you guys don't be like me. I do judge books by its cover. And when you look at him, his cover says, "Keep your kids away from him." This guy looks scary. There's a guy on the internet that does I forget his name, but he does the best short videos, cartoon videos, and they're so funny. He's always got Triple G popping up in there. Big drama show. But anyway, he's always doing these things. And he had a picture of Steven Espinosa that looked so realistic, okay? And it's true. He's got this look that you just, I don't know. For all I know, he's a nice guy. But just if you have kids and you're around him, keep them close. I got one more email I want to read, and this is from Coach. He says, hey, Billy C., after opening his mouth about PEDs and later being exposed by Thomas Hauser, the loose-lipped narcissist, the best ever, Floyd Mayweather, and he says that kiddingly because we all think that Floyd Mayweather is, of his generation, one of the best fighters of his generation, but to suggest that he's the best ever is comical. If I had to do, and I always tell people, I don't put a fighter on my all-time great pound-for-pound list until he's been out of the sport for 5 years. I want a chance to digest and really evaluate the career. But if I had to, if someone forced me to make an all-time great list, would Floyd Mayweather be on it? Yes, he would. He would be in my top 25. But I got news for you. He may fall somewhere between number 20 and number 25. I don't think that Floyd Mayweather is any higher than number 20 all-time great, at least on my list. There's so many fighters ahead of him. So to suggest that he's the best ever. But anyway, I don't want to get off on a tangent against poor Floyd. Coach says Floyd Mayweather persists on running his gums, continuing to undermine his own carefully picked legacy, most recently saying, judges must score more than 30 seconds over the rounds, which just happens to equal the amount of offense he averages in each round. What's your thoughts? I do agree with Coach. Thanks for the emails, guys. I do agree with Coach that Floyd Mayweather has a tendency to, now that he's sort of retired, I mean, as soon as the tax man, comes threatening to take his stuff.
I see a big fight with him and Gervonta Davis.
I see a rematch with Mayweather, with Pacquiao, but anyway.
I can see that too.
I do. I see.
It'll be their last hurrah. Yeah, Pacquiao has no other way to go.
I see Pacquiao winning his next fight and then Floyd fighting him. That's what I see. Call me crazy, but I have a feeling it's going to happen. But
you're not crazy.
What I do agree. Yes, I am.
Maybe
I'm
not.
crazy. I'm crazy. But the thing is that what I do see with Floyd is typical of a person who's guilty of things. And throws it another way. Like, for example, the guy stealing from your cash register at your job is usually accusing other people from stealing. Or, hey, you better watch so-and-so. He's stealing from me. When realistically, he's the one. Floyd Mayweather kind of has a history of that. The whole PED thing. He made such a big deal about it. And a lot of people, although we can't blame Floyd because he's never been busted for it, a lot of people feel he himself was on PEDs. He says for his fighters, he wants them to fight the best. He wants them to be in the toughest fights possible, et cetera, and he's kind of followed through with that. A lot of his fighters have been in tough. Not only Gervonta Davis and Badou Jack, but some of the other fighters as well. But when you look at Floyd's career, he has a lot of big names on his resume. We can't deny that. But when you look at the time when he fought them, they were all way past their prime. Oscar De La Hoya, Sugar Shane Mosley, to name a couple right off the top. And then when he did fight and win titles in certain divisions, like the welterweight division, instead of fighting the top guy in that division, he always picked the least dangerous guy. Like when he won the welterweight division, everyone at the time wanted to see him fight Antonio Margarito. Now, I've always thought that Floyd would have beaten Margarito because of his movement and defensive skill, and Margarito was a one-trick pony with the punching power that we later found out was concrete in his gloves, but that's besides the point. He chose the easiest route. He's only, I think throughout his career, somebody sent me a stat, maybe only 2 times he fought unifying titles, that he always picked the easiest one. So there's a lot of things that Floyd never did, that he wants people to do. The worst thing about Floyd to me is that he has brainwashed a generation into thinking he's so great, and he has brainwashed a generation into thinking that his style of fighting is what we define as the sweet science. When we know now, and I hope that people realize when they see fighters like Gervonta Davis and Gary Russell Jr. and Terrence Crawford, and let's throw in obviously Lomachenko. I meant to say Lomachenko over Gervonta Davis, and let's throw in Gervonta Davis too. And I can go on. But these guys are the guys that represent the sweet science. They're hitting their opponent. Their opponent can't hit them, but they're in a position to strike their opponent. They're not at the other side of the ring. So I agree with Coach. What do you think?
I think it makes a good point, and and I agree as well. I think Coach has definitely hit it right on the head, or two.
Yeah,
or chin,
on his chinny chin.
Chin.
My man Morgan is making a comment in the chat room. He about Floyd. The one guy you got to give Floyd credit for fighting, really, was Canelo. Canelo was young and in his prime. However, Floyd saw something in Canelo, and he knew that he better fight him then. And he was smart to fight Canelo then. But here's the thing, boys and girls. The truth of the matter is that Canelo never fixed what Floyd saw. And this is why that Canelo is at the best he will ever be right now. And unless you're willing to stand in front of him and let him hit you, he can't hit effectively on the move. And that's something that Floyd exposed, Sal. And I've said it all the time. He's got to kind of plant those feet, and it's kind of funny to see a guy that some people think may be the best pound-for-pound fighter in boxing. I don't, but some people do. That he's got this one problem that's so obvious.
Well, it's been there for a while, and we've seen it. I mean, we saw it when he first fought Floyd Mayweather, and it's something I think he's worked on. I think he's improved somewhat on it, and I think he's dealt with it the best way he can. But we'll see what happens, how he applies it and learns. I mean, he's becoming more of a well-rounded fighter on a lot of levels, and he considers himself the baddest man on the planet.
Who? Canelo?
Yeah. But I mean, as his weight will allow.
Well, I mean, I don't think so. I think that he's a decent boxer. He
is.
I lost all respect for Canelo with the whole PED thing, and although I was a huge Oscar De La Hoya fan, I've lost all respect for him. For him to suggest that we should take that people shouldn't be pissed off that Canelo tested positive, that it's not a big deal, that it was a mistake, blah blah blah, and I think that was terrible. And I just, let's move on. Let's move to
turn the page.
Let's turn the page. One last
That's
time.
an old song by Bob Seger. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. Okay. One last time, I'm going to ask this trivia question because nobody's getting it right, and I have faith that somebody's going to get it right today. And this is the last time I'm going to ask it. So if I don't have a winner tomorrow, we will kick off. Another question. I'm not going to give you this answer because I'm going to recycle it. But which boxer had the fewest pro bouts under his belt after having met 5 world champions? I'm going to give a really big hint here. All right, I'm going to tell you how many fights he had, which is part of the answer. So I'm going to read the question one more time. I'm going to give you all the hints, and then if you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. You'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. The same game that Alex Papali uses to simulate the blast from the past against the current world champion. So it's a really good deal. and you'll love this game. It's not graphically, it's not a graphically designed game. It's a simulation, but you could put Sal Rocky Senecola against Boom Boom Mancini if you want.
I'd like to see that.
It's pretty good. So here's the question one more time with the hints. Which boxer had the fewest pro bouts under his belt after having met 5 world champions? The hints are as follows. He's a Hall of Famer. He had less than 25 fights when, I know we're asking with 5 world champions, but in less than 25 fights, he actually had 6 world champions that he faced. And the third and final hint is this guy, it only took him 12 fights to meet 5 world champions. Wow. If you're the first one to email me, Billy@TalkinBoxing, that's TalkinBoxing.com, you'll win your very own copy of the Title Bout Championship computer game. On this day, May 22nd, in boxing history, in 1941, Gus Levinovich wins a 15-round decision over Tammy Morello to win the vacant World Light Heavyweight title, and that took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. On this day in 1993, Roy Jones Jr. wins a 12-round decision over B-Hop, that's Bernard Hopkins, to win the vacant IBF World Middleweight title, and that took place in Washington, D.C. on this day in 93. On this day in 1999, Floyd Mayweather Jr. knocks out Justin Juco in the 9th round to retain his WBC World Super Featherweight title. It took place in Vegas. That was a world beater, that Justin Juco. I tell you, that Floyd Mayweather beating a guy like Juco, man, that should make him the best ever. I mean, Justin Juco, what a killer. On this day in 1999, on the same card, Oscar De La Hoya knocks out Obakar in the 11th round to retain his WBC World Welterweight title, and that took place in Vegas. On this day in 1993, Riddick Bowe knocks out Jesse Ferguson in the 2nd round to retain his heavyweight title in Washington on the same card as Roy Jones Jr. and B-Hop. And finally, on this day, May 22nd in 1990, former world champion and boxing Hall of Famer Rocky Graziano died. He was 71 years old. He was a former world middleweight champion known for his exciting come-at-you style. He finished his career with 67 wins, 52 by knockout, with 10 losses and 6 draws. He was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1991. And was in commercials, TVs, shows, movies, etc.
Absolutely.
We lost a great one on this day in 1990. But, hey, don't forget, tomorrow, our blast from the past is on James Scott, former light heavyweight contender who used to fight out of Rahway Prison in Jersey. We'll be talking about him. We got Larry Hazard scheduled to join us, get his thoughts on the fights from last weekend. And programming note, we are not doing a live show on Thursday and Friday, so tomorrow will be our last day. So we will be doing Super Chat Wednesday tomorrow, I guess. But in any event, hey, no matter what you do, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.